Hello, my name is Nick Kyriacou, and I am going to be giving the second mini summary for the President's class. So at the beginning of the reading, we're introduced to about 1964, and this is the time when President Lyndon B. Johnson is signing a hallmark legislation called the Civil Rights Act. So this Civil Rights Act of 1964, what it's designed to do is to outlaw all discrimination based off race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. And it's really designed to help increase the status and social standing and, honestly, power of African Americans living in especially the South, where they're horribly mistreated. And it's really meant to bring on an end to Jim Crow. However, even though this monumental legislation was signed into federal law, we don't see this happening because there's a lot of pushback from southern states, and there was a very clear and present lack of enforcement at the federal level, which allowed racism to largely remain intact in the South. And what's interesting to note is that there were really two reasons why there was a lack of enforcement at the federal level. So in 1964, Lyndon B. Johnson had just, this is about a year after JFK was assassinated, and Lyndon B. Johnson was preparing for a presidential campaign. So he did not want to really strictly enforce the Voting Rights Act in 1964, because if he enforced the act, he would alienate many Southern whites who could potentially vote for him. But if he didn't really strongly advocate for it, he would lose the support of many blacks. So he kind of walked a very fine line. And we can see in the readings he scheduled a lot of he kind of went back and forth between scheduling meetings with Dr. Martin Luther King versus scheduling meetings with a variety of more diverse and not just African American diversity and civil rights activists, as we can see in this section right here. And then additionally, President Lyndon B. Johnson was also dealing with the Vietnam War, and so he was kind of he was much more spent in taking the time to really fight communism in Asian countries such as Vietnam. And also, what's actually really interesting is that there was political fracking within the NAACP and many black civil rights movements. It's because they had a number of people who were arguing for testing of this new civil rights law, and then a much larger people were arguing to not test this law and say that it wasn't worth the cost of repression in a state already inflamed over the summer project's very presidents. And then finally, I think another interesting parallel to what's happening now in current times is that at the time when this bill was passed, and although most lawmakers were able to accept this new bill, a number of them would call it unconstitutional and brush it off, and then openly tell their citizens to violate and disregard this law, like we see here.